Well, hello. Welcome to Let's Talk Tax. I'm one of the co-hosts, Justin Gephart, Shareholder, McGuire Sponsel.
And I'm Meg Havener. Thank you, Justin. We're doing a special bonus episode today where we meet the host. So thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself. Can you dive into your experience in specialty tax?
Yeah, Meg, thanks for being here. It's always good to talk with you. You know, I joined our firm back in 2012 after about 6 years in public accounting. So I was able to sit on the other side from where our referral partners sit, but started as a cost seg consultant, actually was hired as an R&D consultant, have never done an R&D study to this day, took over management of that practice back in 2014 and really helped spur the growth of it, developing a lot of our key individuals. Craig Fouts had joined us just shortly after that as an intern, and so to watch his growth has been pretty cool. Became shareholder in 2018. In that same time, took over our internal business development, our relationship management team, and a lot of that was just putting in some structure. You know, back in the day, it was more like a shotgun blast. Everybody just took off, and so just putting a little bit more organization to it and some data behind how we do, what we do, why we do. And then last year, transitioned that over to Tim LeMasters, who's one of the hosts on this podcast, and jumped over to be kind of a business advisor to our location advisory practice. Someone you'll hear from later on this year, Ben Worrell, leads that practice. Fantastic leader, good technical resource, but excited to help that team and help build that practice for our firm.
Perfect. Yeah, Ben's going to be great joining us on the show. He's a great presenter, a great speaker. So going into that, you know, tax concepts are often complex, right? Not easily understood. What's your plan? How are you going to make them more accessible and understandable to CPA and real estate professionals?
A great question. Sometimes just having the conversation. Again, you look back at 174, so many people didn't want to tackle it because it was complex. There was a lot of unknown behind it, but that's where we excelled. We dove into it. We were willing to have the hard conversation with clients to help explain, hey, this isn't a great impact to you at the time. But really that's a lot behind some of those discussions. Just being open to having it, leaning on our technical bench to present just the facts. You know, that's all we're here to do. We're not here to make decisions for clients. All we can do is put numbers in front of them and say, here's the impact of this tax strategy. Does it make sense for you? And that's why we work with CPA partners, because we want to make sure that they can utilize the benefits that we help get these clients. So it's having the conversations, it's leaning into our technical experience. The conversations, once that takes place, it's really easy from our perspective.
That's right, because even if you don't know the answer, someone on the team does.
100%.
Perfect. Well, what are you most excited about for this season of Let's Talk Tax? You know, with your knowledge and insights, what can listeners expect?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the getting some of our other practice leaders introduced. You know, a lot of people know Dave, TJ, myself, Tim to a degree. It's bringing on the Ben Worrells, the Craig Fouts, the Jamie Skirsons, the David Seibels, Jason and Greg from the global side, allowing them to tackle some of these technical matters and to really introduce and showcase it, but then also to get feedback from our Alliance network. We do that a lot normally in our conversations as we're out meeting them, traveling to visit their offices. We're talking shop, we're hearing what their pain points are, we're coming back, we're figuring out how to solve it, but really hearing what they're experiencing this year, because every year is different. I mean, you look at the last couple of years, we've had COVID, we've had the great resignation that people
Yep.
went through. We've got the economy going up and down. This year is an election year. It's bound to be a crazy year with a lot of changes. So I'm excited just to see how we adapt and how we continue to lean into our technical expertise.
Yeah, and like you said, there's always something going on, whether it's the economy, politics, you know, even just changes and trends. How do you stay up to date? How does your team, you know, what can listeners expect from McGuire Sponsel and Let's Talk Tax?
Yeah, a lot of it is just staying in tune with what's going on in Washington. As hard as that is, it's never a clear-cut answer. Again, tapping back into 174, we've been working with a lobbyist group to try to figure out what's actually taking place behind the scenes, and we've been able to share that with our Alliance network and kind of give them a path forward. Again, a lot of it's just listening and seeing what's going on. and really diving down into the code, looking at what's going on in the market, from a real estate perspective, talking to investors, seeing what they're seeing out in the environment. If you look back at last year, interest rates were sky high, right? They kept rising. There was a lot of fear about investing in real estate. And we've seen a little bit of a stall with our real estate practices because of that. But as I've been out over the last couple of weeks, people are saying, hey, you know what? Rates have stalled a little bit. It's rumored that they're going to go down a little bit over the next year. So we anticipate some increase in real estate activity. So it's just being out, having relationships, talking to people, hearing what's going on.
Well, outside of McGuire Sponsel, what are some of your interests and hobby? Like, what do you do on a random weekend?
I've got 5 kids, Meg. It's kids all day. The funny part is that when Amanda and I got married, we said we wanted no kids whatsoever, and here we are, 5. So looking back, the best thing ever. I think about one of our colleagues, Matt Bitter. He's getting ready to have twins here later this year, and watching him. And that's the cool part within our firm, is watching the young people get married, start families, and just watching them walk that life. But I look back and having our 5 kids, and now how involved we are with sports. It's soccer, basketball, cheerleading. That's the stuff that keeps me occupied. I still love to go out and golf. Got to keep it on very minimal time frames. That's, as you know, as a mother of kids, your time goes into them, and it's so enjoyable. So I'm trying to enjoy as much of that as possible.
Yeah, you have to do what you can. Certainly, if you don't make time for it, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, my wife makes fun of me because every time we close down the pool for pool season, or we go on our fall break trip, I get really sentimental because it's like, man, I only got 10 more of these with our twins, and it's like, it's so sad.
Yeah, you can't count the years. Otherwise, you're like,
yeah,
6 more seasons until they're out, or
100%.
Yeah, my husband's always telling me we have 12 years until we're not financially responsible for them. It's a terrible perspective. Lastly, how can viewers get connected with you or McGuire Sponsel or Let's Talk Tax? If they want to learn more or they have questions, how can they reach you?
It's today's social media age. You name it, we're on it. So our YouTube page, Let's Talk Tax Podcast, find us, like us, subscribe to it. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find our firm on LinkedIn. We do a lot of great posts through there. So as you're looking at what's coming ahead this year, follow those, because there's a lot of technical updates. 174, bonus depreciation, economy updates, interest rates as those change, how they impact the real estate. So give us a follow on all those platforms. It'd be well worth it.
I would say that's one of my favorite things at McGuire Sponsel. You guys are all so responsive. If you have a question, there's at least 8 people with an answer, easily accessible. So please reach out to Justin, find him on our site, on LinkedIn. I promise he'll answer right away. And if he doesn't know the answer, he will find someone who does almost immediately. What are you most excited about for this podcast? I know you mentioned Ben and a lot of the location advisory. We have a lot of legislative updates, but is there a particular topic that you're just chomping at the bit to get to? What are you, Justin, most excited about to talk about on this podcast?
Best practices with our firms. Again, I think about the years of discussions I've had with firms. We go to these conferences, and there's CPE conversations, that all the CPAs go there to get their CPE numbers in. But some of the best conversations have been sitting around a cocktail bar at the night and talking shop. What's going on in the world?
What are you guys doing? What could we be doing?
Yeah. I think sometimes in leadership, you feel so alone, like you're tackling the problem and you're the only one tackling it. But as you talk to other leaders in our industry, you figure out your problems are the same as theirs. And so I think the cool part is for us this year is to put our heads together, to hear what's going on, to come up with solutions. That's the part that's exciting to me. I love those conversations.
Yeah, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing a bit about yourself and your vision for Let's Talk Tax.
Thanks, Meg.
I know I'm excited to listen on the episode, so everyone else should.
This just creates more work for you, but
that's all right. Job security.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, friendly reminder, we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, now X, Instagram, Facebook. Our handle is at Let's Talk Tax Podcast. Please subscribe. Let us know if you have any questions or ideas for episodes. We'd love to do our research and prep and share our insights with you.
Awesome.